in the spiritual traditions, in any spiritual tradition, to be in the right kind of company has always been a very important part of one's growth. Because rarely are there human beings, just a small percentage, who, irrespective of where they are, they will still stay on course. All other human beings need support. If they're not in the right company, there's very little chance of them doing the right things. Unfortunately, that's a reality. It is not necessarily a misfortune, because what this means is they are open to influence. It is the responsibility of the social fabric to create the right atmosphere for every individual, to grow towards what is beautiful for the individual and for everybody else around him. But not always, or rarely, societies conduct this responsibility in the right sense, because societies are not led. Societies are allowed to go through a metamorphosis depending upon what is the influence. In that direction it grows. I don't know, I still don't want to believe it. They're telling me over 80% of the content on the internet is pornography. I still don't want to believe that it is possible. But people who are in the know are telling me, Sadhguru, that's how it is. That's a sick world. 80% is a sick world, not a healthy world. So to be under the right kind of influence, an influence which nurtures you towards your ultimate truth, an influence which gives you the necessary courage and strength to walk the path of integrity. Because with a weak sense of integrity, nobody is ever going to be spiritual. And this must be understood, that for bad things to hit you, it need not necessarily be aimed at you. If you just happen to be in the wrong type of ambience, negative things can hit you. To be conscious enough, to be in the right company so that filth will not be tolerated, so that you open up the fragrance within you, not the filth, is an important part of one's growth. Because you don't have to go looking for a gutter for filth. There is enough in your head, isn't it? It is just that there is enough garbage in every place. There's enough garbage in the ashram also, so many people living. I'm sure there's enough filth. But we sit here with nice breeze and fragrance. We don't go sit there where there is filth. The same goes within you. Within the geography of your body, there is filth and fragrance. Which one do you open up for yourself and everybody around you? That's a big question. That takes a certain level of awareness and a certain company. This is why satsang, to be in the company of truth, very important. So to fall into the right place, it is a certain talent. You have to grow into it, you have to mature into it. You always know how to be in the right place. In a way, satsang means just that, communion with truth, or you are building a relationship with truth. If you're in the company of truth, your interiority is pleasant. If your interiority is pleasant, naturally pleasant things come towards you, and you will also have a tendency to move towards pleasant things. If you make your interiority unpleasant, you will attract unpleasant things, and you will also move towards unpleasant things. Spiritual process is another thing. To keep physiological cleanliness and psychological cleanliness is the first thing. Otherwise, spirituality will be a battle. It will not be, fragrance of a jasmine upon the spring breeze? No. It will be an uphill task, a battle, all the time a battle. So, satsang means to make friends with truth. Truth is your friend, not falsehood.
A question comes in the mind of almost every spiritual seeker, whether they are really progressing on the spiritual path or not. Some people judge their spiritual growth by the number of spiritual texts that they have memorized. Intellectual knowledge of the scripture has nothing to do with the spiritual growth. Scriptures are mere pointers. They point to the truth of your real nature. They show you the way to the destination of your infinite self. So they are like maps, nothing more than that. So you are gravely mistaken if you judge your spiritual progress this way. Unless you put what the scriptures or your spiritual masters say into practice, they mean nothing at all. It won't do any good to you whatsoever. Let me clarify this point with an example. Suppose you are hungry and you don't have anything to eat. You have all the ingredients to prepare food, but you don't know how to prepare it. So despite having all the ingredients, you will go hungry. Right? In the same way, you will remain unfulfilled. You will have the deep sense of lack despite knowing everything what the scriptures have to say. To experience eternal joy, to experience the ever new and ever fresh happiness, you will have to put the words of the scriptures into practice. You will have to put the words of the spiritual master into practice. Now, this was about something which should not be considered as the criterion for spiritual growth, right? Now, let me share with you something which will positively tell you whether you are really progressing on the spiritual path or not. Whenever anything happens with you, whenever things go wrong in your life, whenever life seems hostile, when the circumstances of your life are absolutely against you, then what response do you give in such a situation? Do you remain non-reactive or you react strongly to what happens with you? Do you accept what happens unconditionally or you just resist what happens? Now, this is how you measure your spiritual progress. If you remain non-reactive in the midst of extremely difficult situation, if you accept the seemingly unacceptable situation unconditionally, then you have really progressed on the spiritual path, for sure. Have you ever thought who reacts to the situation? Who actually resists what happens? It is the mind that does so, right? So when you remain undisturbed, even in the midst of most disturbing situation, then it simply shows that you have risen above your mind, that you are not guided by your mind anymore. Mind means resistance. So if you find yourself calm and composed, even in most trying times, then know for sure that you have started acting consciously in your life, that you have made the real progress on the spiritual path. When I say this, I am reminded of a beautiful verse from Bhagavad Gita. In this verse, Lord Krishna tells what really happens after one realizes his true divine nature. Once you know who you really are, you cannot imagine that there can be any other gain in this world which can be greater than this. Your own self is the greatest thing that you can obtain in this world. Nothing can be greater than this. So Lord Krishna says that When one realizes his true nature, he remains undisturbed even in the midst of most disturbing situations. And you can see that in the lives of all enlightened masters. They always remain in the acceptance mode. They always remain in the surrendered state. Why? Because they have gone beyond the reactive mind. Know for sure that it's the mind that gets disturbed, not the real you, not the witnessing consciousness. Next time when something goes wrong in your life, just see whether you get disturbed or not. If you do get disturbed, then see who is it that gets disturbed. Is it the real you or something which is completely apart from you? The very fact that you can observe the disturbance within you shows that you are not it, that you are the observer of the disturbance within you. You are the seer of the disturbance and not the seen. And this is what is a spiritual progress all about, to see that you are not the mind. Spiritual progress consists in knowing that you are the consciousness apart from the mind. The more and more you witness what goes on in your mind, without attaching any label to it, without judging it as good or bad, the more you get closer to yourself, to your divine infinite nature.